Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Ed Arnold and I'm Vice President of Products here at LeveragePoint. I'd like to welcome all of you to another one of our monthly webinars of thought leadership in value-based strategy, sponsored by LeveragePoint. LeveragePoint provides the only software solution for value-based pricing. We offer a cloud-based collaboration platform that supports product innovation as well as sales enablement that changes the ways companies create, communicate, and capture value. Find out more about us from our website, leveragepoint.com. During the webinar, if you have any specific questions or comments, please feel free to enter them in the right-hand panel in the questions section. Later in the broadcast, we'll respond to as many of them as we can. Now I'd like to introduce today's speaker. It's my great pleasure to introduce Patrick Mauss from Schneider Electric, where he is the pricing director for the partner business unit. He has nearly 20 years of experience in the areas of sales, marketing, and most recently, pricing. That's where we've had the opportunity to work with Patrick over the past year to support his value-based initiatives at Schneider. And on a personal note, I have to say that Patrick is one of the most impressive program managers I've ever worked with, and he's accomplished quite a bit in a relatively short time period, as you will see. So I think our webinar audience today will be getting some real excellent real-world advice on how to implement value-based pricing. So with that, I'd like to welcome Patrick Mauss. Patrick?
Thank you, Ed. Welcome to everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar on the implementation of value-based pricing into Schneider Electric new offer development process. So let's get started. And who are we or who aren't we? We are not manufacturers of lenses and filters. We are not a logistic and transportation company. We are not operators of hotels with real estate or elevator company Schindler. We are Schneider Electric, the global specialist in energy management, a 24 billion euro revenue with 150,000 employees across the world, investing every year 45% into R&D. Why are we here today? I will skip the Fortune 500 company list. And you may know us under different names for some of you. All these names, brands, are Schneider Electric companies. In the US, you may know Squaredy, APC, American Power Conversion, Pelco, Telvent, all Schneider brands which we acquired in the last couple of years. Why value-based pricing today? Because Schneider Electric is looking for pricing excellence. There is a very good impact figure which I can give you, which is last year's pricing impact into the performance of the company, reaching up to 226 million euro for full-year profit of Delta Price in terms of volume. Value-based pricing is a key step towards the journey to pricing excellence. For us, there are two major stakeholders in the process I will describe here today. The first stakeholder is customers. We have to work out the blue ocean strategy through differentiation and innovation for new offerings. Therefore, make sure the new values we are bringing to customers are well perceived, and also that the derived price is in line with customers' willingness to pay for such new offers. And you will see in a few minutes that where this concern may drift and while dealing with pricing in a regular project process. The second stakeholder is internal marketing in Schneider. Make sure that we at Schneider have the right inputs to decide on offer specification. That is to say, not only cost, but also price to customers as early as possible in our process. And in order to avoid falling into the trap of cost plus pricing, and we need means to decide and take better decisions on the choices we have to make in R&D and to justify with a robust approach the profitability of the project. This is a framework, let's say, overview of what is the development framework in Schneider Electric for new offers, the offer creation process, so-called. It works in three main phases, three main steps. First phase being the exploration phase, very upstream marketing at this stage with no project scope and gauge. We also call this the anticipation phase. On phase 2, we will be testing, we will be experimenting, technical and marketing. It's a process on its own. And for phase 3, which will be the realization, it's the true development phase of our offers. It's the offer creation process. What we do in phase 1 during the exploration, let's dig a little bit more into detail of this process here. We have two major inputs, one being the voice of customer, and the second one being the innovation marketing inputs. Both are very much linked as innovation embeds customers' inputs along with market and technology trends. And at this stage, you may realize that there's very little discussions about price. Yet, when we go to the pre-development phase, we will have to start drafting specifications on market analysis, on strategy, with the input from innovation, and also start prototyping the various technical and industrial solutions to be able to choose from the best alternatives. You see here, there's nothing really definitive, always open to refinement and future choices, but still, at the end of this phase, there is a price that comes up here for, let's say, a price range to know where we're going and what would be the target price range that we should aim at. For the last phase, which is a realization, not the least one, the development phase, where the choices have to be taken and the marketing mix has to be set. We all understand that at this point of time, price becomes a very key point, as it is the moment where large investments have to be made, and the project team has to justify for profitability of the project. Price commitment is published at the do stage gate, very important moment. This commitment is the outcome of a series of exchanges where selected countries have been exchanging with us in order to adjust possibly prices for each and every local market. From the above, final price input is used to calculate and compute the project profitability. It's a key moment for the go or no go, which will be given by the steering committee. The project marketer should not fail this important stage gate. Now, this is history. Let's dig into the historical pitfalls that we may have had in the projects with regard to what we used to do before and prior the value-based pricing process implementation. Up to now, most of the pricing approaches used in Schneider Electric were either cost plus or pricing based on cost, let's say, and competitive pricing with key challenges in specifically new innovations and solutions where not much market referentials would exist. Project marketer would strive to reach their first steps in quantification, not having the right methods and tools to determine the price range that they're looking for. Not only this, but facing larger teams of costers. And these costers, no surprise, are costing by the cent. And you know, Schneider is a industrial manufacturing company. We're very focused on our costs as well. The direct consequence of this phenomenon would be that pricing could be partially influenced in a direct or indirect way by accurate cost. Robustness of the initial price range output of the pre-development would be of concern. Now, at the later stage, come the final price setting with country commitment and profitability analysis. This is where finance enters the stage, aside costers. They would be looking for minimum gross margin. All good reasons for price setting to drift should the pricing approach be not robust enough in the upstream project phases. So that's the historical side of it. We've been implementing value-based pricing over the past year, and let us dig in now into the situation after implementation, which is ongoing. Thanks to this vast marketing efficiency program that we launched in Schneider Electric, we are reinforcing pricing into projects by bringing the right process, people, tools, and methodology. The implementation of value-based pricing started very early in the creation process, as early as innovation, where economic quantification would be best suited for drafting the very first value models and price setting range estimate. So this is very new for us. This was the first time the defined pricing methodology would help and support decisions on valuable or not new ideas for new offers. Yet marketers could realize the scale of the differentiated value they would bring to their customers or not bring to their customers. This situation had rarely been anticipated before value-based pricing and the use of leverage point, for instance. If we go to phase 2 of the pre-development, this phase comes with the natural, let's say, refinement of the previous stage, where pricing becomes a continuous process. We keep on refining the value models, and this is including, obviously, the price estimates that we would make before. Marketers become more accurate in their pricing jobs, and therefore more sound and trusted when discussing pricing matters. They will also be in a better position to take marketing and technical decisions based on the value quantification that they've done before. Remember, we are in pre-development, and we're working toward development phase, but there's nothing locked up yet. Everything is still open. Well, yet pricing has become a continuous process all along these two phases of experimentation and realization. This was not the case before introduction of value-based pricing. You remember this very critical stage gate, which is the do commitment that we have to go through at the development phase. This is where price commitment is published. This price commitment naturally derives from continuous refinement work done before on the value models. At this point of the project, we usually connect with selected launch countries to agree on local requirements price adjustments due to local competition or strategy or local variables. And we also converge towards a formal commitment from the country back to us in order to, let's say, be able to compute the right performance and profitability analysis in the project. With the refined and robust value models, we are now in a position to better communicate and document the value message towards the country, each and every country marketing manager, and immediately adjust each and every models to their local variables, which is very important. What's an improvement? VBP, if I should summarize this as a conclusion, I should say that VBP can be seen as a true marketing process, which is yet fully integrated into the development process of new offers in Schneider. Pricing is no longer, let's say, an off-the-shelf value derived by clever, experienced marketers. This process is starting with very early stage identification of new customer values, as early as innovation phase, for instance. The very first value model built at this stage may already enable us to take decision on the development ideas, customer segmentations, target markets we're working on, even take decisions not to go further into the pre-development, for instance, which happened in the past. This integrated pricing process also becomes a new complementary robust source of information balancing R&D and cost, which was not the case before, as there was often a disbalance between bunch of costers costing by the cent and technical teams' inputs compared to what we had in terms of pricing information available. So we're just rebalancing here information on the marketing side. Yet, eventually, this continuous value quantification and refinement process naturally converges towards documented price, moving away from either heavy analytics or crystal ball price setting process, which we may have experienced before. I'm a little bit hard here, but guess what happened in the past, and this is a possibility. Last one but not least, as we're doing this, we are documenting and having a clear communication through the unique value proposition, or what I call also differentiated value proposition, derived from all these refined and accurate value models, which leads us to a crisp value message sent to the country marketing and sales for the launch events that we organize as part of this development process. This communication has also to be used with customers during the sales process, which is a good point. And this communication is also used within the project to clarify things, presentations, when we're talking about what we do inside the project team. So everything gets a lot more clearer. You may see there has been heavy changes in the way we used to tackle prices matter before and the way we're doing things today. Introducing this true marketing process leads us to a much more enhanced price setting and communication than before. And that concludes my presentation. The floor is back to you, Ed.
All right, Patrick. Well, thank you so much. That was an excellent presentation on some real-world experiences. And I'm sure our audience has some questions. We had a couple that came in during your presentation, but if other folks who are watching would like to ask some follow-up questions on Patrick's experiences, just again enter them into the right-hand panel, the questions section of the right-hand panel, and we'll put them on the list. But before we get into the questions, I just want to kind of build on your idea of how value-based pricing is a true marketing process and how LeveragePoint provides a scalable platform for that. So I just want to show a quick slide here. So to begin with, LeveragePoint is a cloud-based application that allows everyone in an enterprise to efficiently collaborate on a number of value-based activities. And when I say efficient, I mean that all the data is kept in one central location, it's totally secured, and it's organized for people to search and reuse the best data and thinking. This enables product marketing and pricing teams to build out value models, as Patrick has shown. And they use these to make a variety of strategic decisions. So it could be product development related, offer definition, market segmentation, or competitive positioning, or just plain pricing. You have a common structured platform where teams can collaborate effectively. And then as Patrick mentioned, after the strategic decisions have been made, you also need to be able to communicate that externally. And so what we have is an excellent content repository for customer-facing teams to access marketing and sales materials to give them more confidence in communicating their differentiation. Plus, you have both sides linked together for continuous improvement and to gather the latest field intelligence. So that's a tremendous advantage that allows even very large organizations to develop and execute nimbly, just like Schneider Electric does. All right, well, thanks for listening to that. I think we're going to be able to take some of the questions now. So Patrick, wow, a number of them have just popped in here. So let me just take a quick look at the screen. Okay, so one question that came in was about results and, how are you measuring success or the tangible success from this program, Patrick?
Yes, very good question. That's very important to measure what we're doing here. One measurement for us is to, let's say, in the change that we are doing today, this huge transformation, is to be able to make sure and count how many value models we have at the do stage gate of the development phase. Make sure that any and every new project getting in to the do stage gate has a documented value model in place, which for me is the start of making sure everything is under control on the offer development side of it. What I see also today is what we measure in terms of, let's say, efficiency at the launch events that we make. We have very insight discussions today with documented value models that we exchange with front office. And that's new. That's a very good news for us, is to be able to arrive at these launch events and document and exchange and have very good level of exchange with the front office marketing. The other one, which is less tangible, is what I see with project marketers, this huge change of mindset, increased awareness that marketers have today when they're visiting customers. They're very smart on exchanging and listening to customers and their values. This was maybe less the case before, and we are improving this by getting them more aware, which is a virtuous circle for us.
Okay, very good. Another question is, at what stage do you use value modeling? And I guess that would apply to the product innovation stage gate process.
Yes, this is described earlier in the presentation. Maybe I went a little bit fast. This is the exploration phase, which is the innovation phase for us. This is where pioneers of the pioneers, marketers, working on new market trends, new technology trends, trying to find some new ideas on what they could do to, let's say, solve customer pain points, as well as when they're collecting inputs from customers, needs from customers, values from customers. At this stage, they start very early to build up value models, try to quantify what could be the outcome of bringing these new technologies and new ideas into the market. And this is very efficient. It doesn't give you a price point. It gives you a price range. This is only what we're looking for at this stage, is a price range in which we could start playing with. And at that point, we already, let's say, estimate what it could cost. And you see immediately what could be the, let's say, overall profitability of such a project. It's nothing really precise, but it just gives you bulk figures by building this very early at the innovation phase. What is the total economic value that we could aim at, and what it could cost us going for such a development, or as making such a product or a solution, for instance. And guess what? In some cases, when we worked there with innovation platforms, well, we gave up some ideas, and it's not worth the investment for us. We're not bringing much enough, and just all agreed that this maybe wasn't the right route for the project development. The idea could be good, but eventually for an industrial company, it would be a waste of time and resource, and nobody would pay for that.
Great answer, Patrick. And just to add on it, I mean, from our experiences, all stages of the product development process could use value modeling to make different types of decisions. And as Patrick said, more and more companies are adopting this earlier in the process to make those go, no-go decisions, to decide where they're going to invest in their R&D. And it's good to know what the economic potential of a new innovation is before you sink a lot of money into it. So I think that's a really, really good point. Sorry, Patrick, did you want to add more?
Well, it's better to do this than to discover late before the do stage gate that you've invested already millions into product development and have taken some decisions on the technological, let's say, solutions that you could implement, and discover that it's not worth the value. Simple as that. And it sounds simple, but we should avoid this. This could happen and may have happened in the past. And we should estimate this as early as possible in the project and go for refinement. Go for refinement all along the project phases, which is maybe a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year process, but go for refining towards the end value, but trying to guess the first price band as early as possible.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Iteration is a big part of this. As new data comes in, you need to be able to adjust those value models, also to be able to explore different offering configurations, different customer segmentations, etc. The discipline of this, I think, reveals a lot more optionality for products. Now, we've got a number of questions, Patrick, talking about new products versus existing products. And I think the feeling here is that we're kind of new product heavy here. But can you comment on using this approach to existing products that have already been developed?
Yes, this is a very interesting question in the sense that it depends on the strategy you want to go for. I'm going for, let's say, the change management in the low-hanging fruit, picking up the low-hanging fruits, which means I want to make sure that what's coming up and prepare the future, anything which is coming out in the next coming years is going to be value-based. And I could have decided to say everything which is already on the market has to turn into value-based. But the effort to do that is much, much bigger than going for the new things coming up in the market in the future. Why is that so? When we have products and solutions on the market, whatever the price point is today, there is a historical transactional on it, history on the transactions we've made over the past years and so on. We could make a kind of rear mirror calculation on the value model and maybe detect that we've been underestimating the price and that we're bringing a lot more value and that we could reposition, for instance, a couple of % above. But that's really, really difficult because customers know the price today, and once you've shot this boat, it's too late, I would say. It costs a lot of effort to try to steer back to the right price that value-based pricing would give, and vice versa. Any price point which is already published and used and transactionally as history, it takes a lot of effort. What I need to make sure today is that for all projects that are going to come out in the next 10 years, 20 years, that we are well aligned with the same approach and maximize the future. And that's my strategy. Now, people may decide on alternative strategy, but that's what we've decided here.
Okay, so a couple of specific questions around quantification. So it says, can you talk to some of the challenges that you had on value quantifications and how you overcame them?
Yes, value quantification becomes really efficient with leverage point, for instance, when we have clear economic impact. And I made a segmentation in the different techniques that we can use in value-based pricing. And when we have clear economic impact, it's easy to find out the 3, 4, 5 bricks, let's say, of differentiated value drivers, positive differentiated value drivers, where we could, let's say, get the figure and the monetization out of these things. So for highly differentiated offers, we try to find our way out through this calculation by having group workshops, for instance, made of marketers, technical people, front office people, and we find it, we validate with the customers after, but we try to build up this, and we were pretty successful. Now, when it gets more tedious, more difficult is when we're going for more evolutionary offers, for instance, where we have not great economic impact, but just extension of specifications. For instance, we go for a small screen to a larger screen. We go for a change of color, for instance. These are evolutionary parameters, and they're less tangible. The willingness to pay for a 4-inch screen and a 3-inch screen has to be measured maybe differently through market surveys. Again, we use this economic approach where we have differentiation and innovation, and that's where we want to go. We don't want to do the Me Too. We don't want to do the commodity products. So we want to go for the differentiation and innovation. That's where the quantification works best. We have economic impact.
Okay. You mentioned how critical it is to determine product feature value in new product development. Can you comment more on the tools you use to determine customer value?
We have, in fact, we model, we start modeling as soon as we have the needs and the values from customers, for instance. And for that, we have a separate process, which is called customer's voice. So we use, we interview customers. So we have customer interviews campaign, one-to-one, for instance, where we have ways to listen and discover these new values from the customers. Okay, and we have process as well in the innovation team where they go and listen to customers even a different way to detect mainly their pain points. So not clearly expressed needs or values from customers, but they're only looking for pain points. These are clear definitions in Schneider. What is a need? What is a pain point? What is customer value? And various teams between innovation and project marketing go and do these interviews. Once they come back to Schneider, we have ranking, we have prioritization, and these are the future bricks for the value models. They feed this information into the value models, and this is how we build up the value model.
Okay, Patrick, we had a couple of questions here about leverage point application, and I swear to you, these are not from internal leverage point, but from externally, because you're talking about value modeling, and I know that you use leverage point for value modeling, but maybe to comment about how leverage point fits into this process.
Sorry, the question is how leverage point fits into the process?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we could maybe use Excel if that's a question, but Excel makes formulas and computation if you ask Excel to do that and feed the figures and the variables. The thing is, we need to have something which is traceable and centralized, and also be able to exchange with countries and countries to make their modifications and adjustments. For instance, a labor cost in India is not the labor cost in Europe or in the US. And we should make sure that people are able to derive, and we should be able to trace this also, because we use this for the country commitment. And we freeze these models, and leverage point as being a centralized, let's say, database of information for us is a key point. I used to use Excel before, and I used to do things on Excel and then give it away, give this model to some marketers. I would know nothing about whether it was being used locally in the country or whether the salespeople would use it. And if there were modifications being made, I would just not know it. It would just not get back to me as a closed-loop process. And that's where leverage point fits well in the overall vision here, is that it's a closed-loop thing. When people are making modifications and salespeople are making unique value propositions at customers, we see their publications. They don't have to send anything back to us. It's being published internally, and as marketing, I can see it from my office here, which is unseen before as well for us.
Okay, thank you. Another question relates to retraining product marketing to think value rather than cost plus, and I guess you can extend that to, I guess, the entire organization. What are some of the things that you do to, I guess it's the change management aspect?
Oh yes, we are entering here the change management topic, and this is a huge topic. In fact, value-based pricing is a process, but when you want to implement this, it's all about change management. Change management, and as I said before, picking the low-hanging fruits, and there are three ways to maximize this change management and maximize the chances of success of this change management. One is to get first the project marketing people with a certain readiness. Not everyone is ready to go for value-based pricing, and if you want to start off the implementation, you should make sure you get the right guys. And the second one is make sure you choose the right projects, and there are two criteria here. The first one being, if you want good and fast success, make sure you're not selecting a Me Too project and having the highly differentiated and innovative project first. And the second point on this project is don't go for the elephant one that will last for 5-6 years. Go for the small to medium-sized ones, the fast projects which will show immediate results to the community of marketers. To that extent, we created this community of marketers, the buzz, the success stories. Then we have the trainings going along, and this is just growing. And obviously, we're running the change management from marketing standpoint, and getting the ambassadors, getting the sponsorship, and all these things together. That makes a good, let's say, change management story and success in the implementation of value-based pricing.
All right, very good. And related to that was a question about some of the challenges, specific challenges related to the implementation process.
Well, challenges is that the work is huge. We are on for a journey which is a journey of 3 to 4, 5 years maybe. Schneider Electric is a huge company with 150,000 employees. And if we want to go from back office marketing, creating all the new offerings, and you wouldn't imagine how many projects we have running at the moment, ongoing projects, and the need to get in touch with all these marketers and for them to understand what it's all about, and training all these guys, coaching all these guys, spreading the news, it's just a resource, a potential resource issue, making sure it's under control at any stage of any project. And that's the main challenge today, is, let's say, being there with the marketers when they need you to support them and train them onto value-based pricing, for instance. We are quite a few marketers here, and there's a big demand today.
Okay, here's a question that I can answer. There's a question about whether this webinar will be available in a recorded version, and the answer is yes, we will make this available. Probably sometime next week it will be up on our website, and we'll be sending a follow-up email to all participants. So yes, you'll be able to listen to this. So this is more of a tactical question that just came in. Do you use the same approach and have had success using value-based pricing for a customer-specific bid against various competitors versus a general price setting for a product?
That's a very good question as well. We had one recent experience on this where for a specific bid, we had a chance to quote the first time for a budgetary offer. And everyone had the chance to do this. But this was just budgetary. So the first bid, the first answer was, let's say, pretty not precise, just a coarse answer. And we had a chance to visit the customer, and I had a chance to visit the customer as well recently, last week. And at that point, we had prepared all the value messages. And we know we will bid again, but this will be the final bid with the precise price, with the precise specification and so on. And now, since we've had the customer in the meeting last week, we are in a much better position to highlight his exact values. So we entered the meeting last week saying, what do you think about the first budgetary offer? And the customer said, okay, this and this and that. Do you like this? Do you like that? Do you prefer that? What do you think of this? And we asked them questions, and we managed to, let's say, be more accurate into what were his exact values, and we missed one specifically. And so we're going to quote now for the final bid, using his exact value model and be more precise here. Yes, we've done it, and we've started it last week, and we are going to finish this with the final bid. It's the very first time for me and the marketer as well who's working on this subject.
Yeah, and I mean, just to comment on that, I mean, I see that all the time where, value models are not one size fits all, right? So there are some commonalities in terms of how you talk about your differentiation, but really you need to customize that almost on a customer by customer basis. Another reason why having it in a format and on a platform gives you a lot more flexibility. If you allow people to do it on their own as one-offs, you really do have quite a bit of chaos, and it's hard to manage. So absolutely. Another question, and I know we're going to need to wrap up soon, but there's another question here about where to get started, and related questions about what are kind of the first steps. So I know that sometimes change management sounds like a daunting, long process, but in reality, you've accomplished a lot in a very short period of time. So where did you decide to get started on this journey, Patrick?
Well, my first ambition when I wanted to start this was to get the C-level sponsorship. And for such a huge transformation, deep transformation, company transformation, there is no point trying to go anywhere if you don't have the C-level or the executive level sponsorship. That helps a lot. So if you go on your own and try to change things in the company, hitting the process, the development process, deep transformation, this is not going to work. So I got the sponsoring, first of all, from the executive committee. And then I started working out the ambassadors who were the very early adopters, who are now, let's say, the trained people who know how it works and can talk about value-based pricing around them. And then you need the success stories. You need the low-hanging fruits, and make sure that what you do, you have quick results to be able to publish this. And then train the people and carry on. Demultiply, let's say, the number of people who can coach. And my approach is also very operational. So it's not only publication and webinars, I'm actively coaching personally some projects and bringing value to the projects by bringing this methodology. So sponsoring, ambassadors, low-hanging fruits, and success stories. And that's where you have to start with, I would say. I mean, that's where I started with.
Right, absolutely. Well, I think that answers the questions that we had. And once again, Patrick, thank you so much for your time today and your insights. Very valuable.
Thank you all for listening.
Okay, and we have our contact information up on our screen. If you have any follow-up questions or comments, please direct them to us at Leverage Point. Just a quick program note, our next webinar for 2013 is on December 18th. This one is a little bit different than our typical ones because we'll be taking a deeper dive into the Leverage Point platform. Specifically, our product team will provide a recap of some of our major enhancements from this year. As some of you know, we do product releases on a monthly basis, and looking back at this past year, we've really added a lot of capabilities. So whether you're a current user of Leverage Point and wants to catch up on what's new, or a future user who wants to get a better idea of what we can provide, I think you'll find this a very interesting session to get a deeper look into our product. Plus, we're going to give you a sneak peek for what our development lab is coming up with in 2014. So look for an email with registration details on that soon. So thanks everyone for watching today.